radio amongst them that Lions are in for a world of pain this year and it's not a happy camp up here at the Lions. How would you respond to that?
I haven't seen Matty in Brisbane lately, so how would he know? Oh, look, Matty's a great player. He's paid for his opinions, and often opinions aren't based on facts. So.
It annoys you? The club?
No, not at all.
Sunday's game, what about changes for the team for that one?
Yeah, I think there'll be substantial changes. We've taken this tack that the next two games are critically important for us to get our best possible team on the paddock and to get our game plan flowing from there. So we'll pick as strong a side as we possibly can in the next two matches.
Yeah, speaking of game plans, I understand that it's a little different to what it was last season. How's it settling in so far?
Yeah, well, game plans are always going to take time, and Justin's a first-year coach, and he spent all summer implementing the systems that he wants and that we want to play. So it's a big learning experience. We can't expect it's going to happen straight away, but we've got to hold our line, and we've got to make sure that we just persevere, and the results will come. What those results will be gauged by how we implement the game plan, not the win or the loss ratio.
At what stage do you think people like Matthew Lloyd would be able to get a good gauge of where the Lions are actually at? Oh
yeah, look, I'm talking about Matthew because Matthew's one of many media people who follow the game. So I think people will know pretty early on within the first 3 or 4 games how we're tracking against that.
What have you made of the Gold Coast on Monday night? What do you expect on Sunday?
I think the Gold Coast are on the improve. I think they've got an outstanding midfield. They've been able to secure a lot of great talent over the last few years, so they'll be a very tough opposition. And number 9's
I don't think he's playing. You might.
Well, I was going to say he's probably arguably the greatest player that I've seen in the last 20 years.
They're not going to play a lot of their star players this weekend, so then is it a case of you being able to get a good gauge then?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because this is what's happening in the pre-season. Each club will take a different approach. So Gold Coast have obviously decided, to take the way they're going to do it. So if they're lessening their side this week, that's their strategy, and they'll follow their path as we've followed our path through the pre-season as well.
The younger guys a bit destroyed a little bit mentally after such a massive loss?
No, they're not. I think it was just an extraordinary learning experience, and they now know that the best side in the competition plays a certain way, and that that's what they've got to aspire to. And they're very young. I mean, some of them have never played at that level before, so they can only improve. They're not going to get worse, I can tell you that.
You walked into the club obviously in the midst of a lot of change. What's been your impressions the first few months of the club and its setup and how it's,
it's easy for me to sit here and say I'm super impressed, but I am. I've lived in Melbourne my whole life, so to come up to this market and see how difficult it is in many ways, as far as it's nice to have the media here today, but there's not a lot of media interest when I look at the paper and the news. So as a club, it's hard to generate that. But off the field, I never get involved in board decisions. It's great to see Lee Matthews back involved. Bob Sharple's taking on the chairman's role. To me, it's a very stable board. Dean Warren's done an enormous job to put together a football department. We've bolstered our development area, which we needed to do to supply these young boys with some really good coaching, and to secure Justin. I think Justin's going to be an outstanding long-term coach for this football club. So there's a lot of positives. But the other thing is 80% of these players don't come from this state. So we've always got the issue of holding them here in Brisbane. So we want to create the best environment possible so that they want to stay and want to be part of a successful club.
Given that, is it then extremely frustrating that the Mexicans make those assumptions that they did in the media?
About culture, I don't think any person outside of Brisbane can talk about culture. Because they don't know, they're not here. I wasn't here. I don't know why all the young players left. All I know is the things we've put in place now to make sure that we make it as good a place as we possibly can.
We saw here Lee Matthews. Has he been a great mentor and have more of a hands-on approach this year?
Oh, look, it's just great to have someone of Lee's experience available. And he does know Brisbane. He can make some comments on Essendon, which he mightn't know, but he can actually make some comments on Brisbane because he does know. So whatever Lee has to tell us or say up in this market, I'm sure everyone's going to listen and pay attention to.
Given how hard it is to break into this market, like you said earlier, how important is it taking a game like this one to Townsville, regional Queensland?
Well, I haven't been to Townsville myself, so I don't know how big a football market it is, but I have been to Cairns. I think it's incredibly important for the growth of the game in Queensland to make sure that the major centres of this state actually have an interest in the game. So from my point of view, it makes sense to go and play a game up in Townsville.
And what about for the younger guys, particularly from interstate? Just the value of seeing the state they're playing for as well?
Yeah, I think so. They're settling into a new home and a new state, so it's very different. But it's a nice place, Brisbane. It's a nice place to live, so I think most of them are very happy here at the moment.